Hey there, DIY enthusiasts and my woodworking friends. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to dive into lumber sizing. Have you ever gone to a lumber yard or a big home improvement store to buy lumber? Maybe wanted a 1x4 and that 1x4 wasn't actually 1 inch by 4 inches. Well, in this video we're going to dive into why that is the case, and I'm also going to give you standard sizes for the most common width and thickness boards you're going to buy, so you know and can plan when you go to the lumberyard and get the right type of wood. So you may have noticed when you go to a lumberyard and you buy a 1x4, it's not actually 1 inch by 4 inches. And you may have wondered, why is this the case? Well, that number discrepancy and measurement difference is going to be found in the actual milling process. So when logs are cut, they're just kind of raw and uneven. So these sawmills have to go in and size them accordingly and smooth those out so that when you get to the store to buy your lumber that you need, it's nice and smooth how you find it today. Well, this process of machining results in a reduced amount of lumber due to saw cuts. So therefore, the size you actually purchase isn't the size that is advertised. Now that number that is advertised, the reason it is that way is because back in the old days, before they did this process, a 2x4 was actually 2 inches by 4 inches. But because they smooth them up, clean up the rough edges now, you're going to have a little bit smaller size just due to material waste when they machine the boards. So now let's break down the actual dimensions of a board as opposed to what they're advertised when you're actually buying them. So a 1x4 actually measures 3/4 inch thick and 3.5 inches wide. Now why are the numbers off? Well, it has to do with the planing process to smooth these boards out, like I previously said. Let's move on to the 1x6. A 1x6 is actually 3/4 thick by 5.5 inches wide. Again, this is not deceptive labeling, it's just the rough dimensions of the board before they finish it out and plane it. That brings us to a 1x8. Now, this one's a little tricky. We had a 1x4, the width was 3.5, so it's just a 1/2 inch less. We had a 1x6, the width was 5.5, which is a 1/2 inch less. We get to the 1x7, and it changes a little bit. A 1x7 is actually 3/4 thick by 7.25 wide. So it increased by a little bit. So you notice there was a pattern. Now the pattern changes a little bit, and we're going to maintain this current pattern throughout the next couple measurements. Therefore, a 1x10 is actually 3/4 thick by 9.25 wide. So again, just like the 1x8, it was 3/4 less than the actual dimension on width. And finally, that brings us to a 1x12. And you guessed it, 3/4 thick, 11.25 inch wide for the 1x12. So understanding these actual measurements are crucial for your woodworking projects. If you do not know the actual size, it's going to mess up your planning. You may end up with not enough wood. It'll also probably cause a lot of problems in assembly of whatever it is you're building, because things aren't going to fit right because the size that you thought you were getting isn't actually what the size is. So it's very important to know these during the planning process, not after you purchase them and you're sitting in your shop trying to figure out why you can't get the number of pieces you need to get out of each board. So there you have it. That's the inside scoop as to why lumber is sized the way it is. So the next time you go to that lumber yard, you're going to have the inside knowledge to know confidently what you're buying and that it will work for your project. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button, the like, the subscribe button, and watch these next videos that are coming on the final screen. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.